Welcome to Sound Beyond the Cabin. It's a discussion about Dolby Atmos and Panasonic's integration in the car. My name's Jeff Zellen, Engineering Group Manager for Advanced Audio Products at Panasonic Automotive. I'm joined today by Phil Brown from Dolby. Phil, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Phil Brown, and I'm an audio researcher at Dolby Labs, and currently I'm the lead researcher on Atmos music for automotive. So we're spending lots of time in cars during the pandemic, doing lots of interesting experiments, and for me, it's been great to have some mobile labs that we can use since we've been at home so much lately.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun and an interesting challenge being at home and supporting our industry, Phil. It's given me a lot of time to reflect on where we've been and where we're going, and really thinking about the history of where we've been at with car audio and things like the types of music and types of things we were doing in the car over time. Things like listening to AM radio, FM radio, listening to satellite radio, these kind of classic stereo audio sources that we're used to listening to. And some of the things that we did that was interesting around those at Panasonic was trying to kind of improve upon those by increasing the fidelity. Things like using upmix algorithms and changing those from stereo sources to becoming like 5.1 sources and 7.1 sources. But those really have some limitations in what we're able to do with a binaural audio. We do everything we can to create a great listening environment, expanding the sound field and making the stage sound like it's much bigger than a cockpit. But without doing something special, we're going to hit a ceiling to what we can accomplish. And I think that's really where a lot of what Phil and Dolby bring to the table in supporting us with discrete audio channels. Phil, do you want to talk to me a little bit about what's going on with Dolby Atmos and the problems it solves?
Sure. As you know, Dolby Atmos started in the cinema. It became a way to do a new standard of immersion in cinemas and gave mixers a much wider palette of spatial capabilities, right? So we're able to take, they're still able to make a movie in normal, 5.1 or 7.1, but then you've got the ability to move objects around in space as well. So you can have things fly overhead or pan around you in ways that we couldn't do before in the cinema. We quickly, brought that to the home. So most folks that have home theaters now have the capability to have Dolby Atmos in the home. And then we expanded into the music industry and started working with creatives there and showing them what was capable, with our tools. And Atmos music became a thing. And now we're expanding that to the car. So we want to be able to have this, very immersive experience in the car for music, movies, gaming, even podcasts. There's immersive podcasts these days, which are really just amazing to listen to. We continue to kind of try to push the envelope on what Atmos can do and continue to work with the creatives on it and get feedback and, for headphones, for home theaters, for the car. So it's really, really exciting time for us.
Yeah, it's been really interesting partnering with you guys on the technologies that come to pass with us working with Atmos in the car. We've really been looking at a bunch of use cases and how Panasonic uses Dolby Atmos in the vehicle and how do we integrate and the types of things we're going to do with those. Really looking at things like spatial audio and tell me a little bit about how creators interact with spatial audio with the tools and how they're going to create interesting music.
Well, it's very interesting because depending on who you work with, they could be very conservative or very aggressive with some of the panning and some of the tools that we provide. So we see like a wide gamut of creative creativity going on with people in the studios on music. And so sometimes you've got voices panned around the room. Sometimes they're just only coming out of the center like they would in a normal stereo mix. And so we've seen them use all sorts of other cool plugins to actually enhance the Atmos mix. So reverb that now you can create reverb that now you can place spatially rather than just having it come out of the left and right channels. So there's all sorts of really interesting things, and I think we're just kind of getting started on this. So as it becomes more and more ubiquitous, we'll see more and more really cool mixing techniques come out of it. So Jeff, tell me a little bit more about some of the challenges you've had in tuning cars and expanding the sound field with Atmos.
One of the challenges we have in the vehicle is the fact that the speakers are right there within arm's reach. We really want to expand the sound field, make that stage wider than the cockpit itself, really make it feel like the speakers are outside the car. We really want you to get immersed into the sound. We collaborate with a number of different brands as we do our work, collaborating with people like Klipsch, ELS, Fender Audio to create a unique sound for each of their brands. We also work with Dolby to ensure that we're representing the sound that they want out of the vehicle. We try to make that sound field really immersive, really make it feel like the overhead is happening way overhead, make it feel like the speakers are behind you, really push the envelope of the vehicle and make it sound much bigger. We also try to make it feel like you're right there within the band, listening to them as they jam, sitting right in the middle of the action as you're watching a movie or listening to a video game. We don't want to just limit the conversation to what's going on with music, Phil. I think there's some really cool things, like you said earlier, with what's going on with the theater. And Panasonic's really looking at integrating streaming movies into the rear seat entertainment arena. I think there's a lot of space there for that. What thoughts do you have?
Yeah, we can, we've talked about, like things like zoned listening. So for instance, you could have, one thing in the front and one thing in the back of the car, right? You could have your children watching a movie, and they've got an experience, or maybe in the front of the car, you're taking a phone call. So these are all things we're kind of looking at in that way, that you could have sort of mixed media going on in the car, right? So someone could be gaming. We do a lot of work on supporting headphones, so you could have, an Atmos experience on headphones for one person, another person listening to music, another person on a call, and they all bring, Dolby into the mix, and we've got, really, really, really great things planned for the car.
So with the take-up of electric vehicles, I think there's a real opportunity for Panasonic to integrate gaming into the vehicle. So people, when they're charging their car or while they're waiting, have an opportunity to be entertained.
Right, and you've got a big screen in a lot of these electric cars where you can play a video game or watch a movie while you're charging. I see a lot of people sitting in parking lots looking at their phones, but that's no reason to be limited to that. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, I think that the immersive technology with Atmos, the ability to bring that 7.1.4, that really high engagement listening experience to the vehicle is really special. And I think that's something that Atmos really has been, touting and priding itself on. We looked at a number of the challenges at Panasonic about bringing it to the car and what those difficulties can be. Your typical home theater environment creates a wide space where you have the speakers set in specific positions. But when we get into the automobile, we don't really have those opportunities to put those speakers in the exact same spot that you expect them to be in an Atmos configuration in a car. So we have to do a lot of work to tune the car and work with the speaker configurations that we have available in order to create the sound fields that you're really expecting, create a sense of a stage in the car that's wider than the vehicle, that's deeper than the vehicle, so the sound really comes alive when you're sitting in the cockpit. We really want that overhead speakers that Atmos delivers so well in the cockpit to really sound like it's really wrapping you in the audio of that movie, getting that immersive experience. The speaker counts in the car is sometimes mixed. We don't always have the choices, and those locations can be a challenge. We're really excited about the partnership that we have with Atmos in solving those. And the process we go through with Dolby in certifying the vehicles and looking at how those really meet the standards is an interesting and fun challenge we're looking forward to solve.
Yeah, you're right. It is a big challenge in cars because you're not in the sweet spot for starters, right? And you've got limitations on bandwidth and placement. So those aren't such a big deal in the home theater, but in the car, you've got to make some compromises, and so then you have to get creative with the tuning and get creative with panning and mixing of channels and things like that. Bass management. There's lots and lots of things to think about. We've so far been mostly looking at, how do we tune differently for the car compared to what is traditional stereo tuning in the car, and it is quite different, and there are a lot of considerations, but it works really well. And there are going to be cases where we go down to subsets of speakers where we have fewer and fewer that we're going to have to get more and more creative. So those are all things that we're taking a look at. It's really been helpful to have Panasonic as a partner, and I would love to come, hear what you've done. I assume at some point that'll be possible, and vice versa. We've worked in a number of cars that we've purchased and retrofitted to support Atmos. We've got, in fact, we call these Atmos music proof of concept cars. And we've got these scattered all over the Dolby offices across the world. So and everyone's a little different, right? Everyone we've had to make some compromises and make some changes, but they've all worked really well, and we're really excited to start seeing this make it into the market.
Phil, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. It's been really exciting talking to you about Dolby Atmos, integration in the vehicle.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff. And thanks for the opportunity to talk about the collaboration between Panasonic and Dolby Atmos.